The Competition Act. The Competition Act 2002 is enacted to sustain competition in the country and protect the interests of the consumers and ensure the freedom of trade in the country. So it prohibits the companies from executing anti-competitive agreements. Earlier we had Monopolies Restrictive Trade Practices Act 1969. So this Act, Competition Act 2002, replaces that Act, Monopolies Restrictive Trade Practices Act. It used to cover UTP, Unfair Trade Practices, RTP, Restrictive Trade Practices, and MTP, Monopolistic Trade Practices Act. So under this legislation, Competition Commission of India was established to prevent the activities that have adverse effect on competition in India. So it's a tool to implement and enforce competition policy and to prevent and punish anti-competitive business practices by firms and unnecessary government interference in the market. Competition law is equally applicable on written as well as oral agreements, arrangements between enterprises or persons also. So it establishes a commission which is bound to protect the interests of free and fair competition. As a consequence, protect the interests of the consumers also. So when you are protecting the competition, it will help the consumers also. So when you are going for a merger or acquisition, the companies need to take the permission of CCI. Okay, Competition Commission of India. That's a rule now. So let us look at the duties of the commission. So prohibitory duties, all the three duties. To prohibit the agreements or practices that have or likely to have an appreciable adverse effect on competition in a market in India. It can be horizontal or vertical conduct. To prohibit the abuse of dominance in the market. To prohibit acquisitions, mergers, amalgamations, etc. between enterprises which have or likely to have an appreciable adverse effect on competition in markets in India. That's why when you're going for acquisition or merger or amalgamation, they have to apply to CCI. They have to take an approval that it's not having any anti-competitive practice. So let's see the acquisition. Acquisition means directly or indirectly acquiring or agreeing to acquire shares, voting rights or assets of any enterprise or control over management or assets of any enterprise. Next, cartel. It's a very interesting term. Cartel includes an association of producers or sellers, distributors, or traders or service providers who by agreement among themselves try to limit the control or attempt to control the production, distribution, sale or price of goods or provision of services. Sometimes all the producers will stop producing something or hoard the goods so that when the price is increasing, they will sell it. So that's a wrong thing. They come together and they do that practices. It's wrong. Next, dominant position, very important. It means a position of strength enjoyed by an enterprise in the relevant market, which enables it to operate independently of competitive forces prevailing in the market or affects its competitors or consumer in its favor. Next, predatory pricing. Predatory pricing means the sale of goods or provision of services at a price which is below the cost of production of the goods or provision of services with a view to reduce competition or eliminate the competitors. It's really how you can sell below the cost a good. So when you're selling, you have a wrong intention. You want to just attract the customers of your competitors. Once the competitors are out of the market, then you will slowly increase the price and regain that loss. So that's a predatory pricing. Now, the types of agreements. 2. Horizontal agreement, an agreement for cooperation between two or more competing businesses operating at the same level in the market, parallelly. Next, vertical agreement like manufacturer, wholesaler, retailer. So an agreement between firms at different levels of the supply chain or distribution channels. So example we can take. A manufacturer of consumer electronics might have a vertical agreement with the retailer, according to which the latter, means the retailer, would promote the products of the manufacturers in return for lower prices. Retailer will promote the product so that he will get for a reduced price and he can have more profit. Next, abuse of dominant position. An abuse of dominant position is there if an enterprise imposes directly or indirectly unfair or discriminatory conditions in purchase or sale of goods or services, or restricts the production or technical development, or create hindrance in entry of new operators to the prejudice of customers. The provisions relating to abuse of dominant position require determination of dominance in the relevant market. Dominant position enables an enterprise to operate independently or affect competitors by acting. So next, combinations. So this act is designated to regulate the operation and activities of combinations, a term which contemplates acquisition, mergers and amalgamations. Combinations of companies through acquisition, mergers or amalgamations. So combination that exceeds the threshold limits specified in the Act in terms of assets or turnover, which causes or likely to cause adverse impact on competition within the relevant market in India, can be scrutinized by the Commission, CCI, Competition Commission of